this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation following. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, please bless our elected officials. Grant them the wisdom to know and the courage to do what is right for all citizens. Amen.
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 Roll call, please.
Allen,
Here.
Green,
Here.
LaFour,
Here.
Mistrovich,
Here.
Rindell,
Here.
Ricks,
Here.
Warren.
Here.
Good to see everybody here tonight. Council had met at 5:30 to start their quarterly roundtable meeting, and we are in session for our regular monthly meeting. Approval of minutes for the city council meeting of January 3rd would be in order.
Make a motion.
Support.
Motion's been made and supported. Any discussion on the minutes? Being not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion passes. We move on to audience comments on any non-agenda item. If anybody would like to address the city council on anything that's not on the agenda, please do so now. Okay, we will move on. Adoption of agenda. Mr. City Manager, any changes?
No changes.
City Council, any changes? Motion to accept the agenda as presented be in order.
I'll make the motion.
Support.
Motion's been made and supported. Any discussion? Being not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. Do we have a motion for the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Motion's been made and supported. There's no discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. We have a public hearing on Community Development Block Grant Funds, commonly referred to as CDBG. Mr. City Manager.
Council is scheduled to have a public hearing regarding the distribution of our fiscal year 2018-19 CDBG allotment. This year, our allocation is estimated to be at $17,644. Of that, an amount of $4,100 roughly is for public service programs, and then the remainder is for bricks and mortar. Again, this year, the city's recommending for our public service that we fund, at least in part, the senior coordinator position at our community center. And then for our community development projects, or the bricks and mortar projects, that we reconstruct one of the remaining quadrants of the intersection of Oak and Byer to bring it up into compliance with the ADA requirements.
Very good, thank you. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
I make a motion to open the public hearing for the use of the 2018-19 CDBG funds at 7:06.
Support.
Motion been made and supported. Any discussion on the motion? Being not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. Is there anybody that would like to address City Council on CDBG funds? Please come up to the stand here, make your presentation.
Good evening. My name is Sherry Miller, and I'm the intake coordinator at Care House. Care House is a children's advocacy center located in Mount Clemens, Michigan. We have been open since 1996. We're entering our 22nd year of providing services to children and their families in Macomb County. We receive our referrals through law enforcement and CPS. When law enforcement's involved in an investigation regarding child sexual or physical abuse, they call us at Care House to have the child come to Care House for the interview instead of the child going to the police department to be interviewed, or to the CPS office to be interviewed, or to a hospital to be interviewed, or to a school to be interviewed. We collaborate with law enforcement and CPS and the assistant prosecutors to ensure that the child is only interviewed one time at Care House at our facility by one of our interviewers, instead of having to be re-interviewed over and over again, reliving the trauma that they may have endured. Since we've been open in 1996, we've provided services to 6,400 children. 34 of those children have lived in the city of Richmond. Not very many, that's a good thing. Over the past 3 years, we've provided services to 8 children who've lived in the city of Richmond and their families. Care House doesn't just provide the forensic interview. When law enforcement contacts Care House, we make sure that CPS and the Assistant Prosecuting Attorney's Office can attend, and foster care if they're involved, so that they can all observe the interview as it's taking place. And if they have any questions of the interviewer to ask the child, they can address it at that time. The interviewer wears a speaker in her ear, and there's a microphone upstairs so that they can communicate with the interviewer. So if there's any clarification needed, it's obtained at that time. After the forensic interview takes place, the interviewer, the detective, and the CPS worker, and the prosecuting attorney meets with the family to tell them what direction they're going. Law enforcement is investigating from a criminal standpoint. CPS is investigating from a standpoint of the child's well-being. And we are bringing them all together to help support the child and the family to move towards healing. We also provide counseling services, play therapy, outside referrals, and collaborations with other community services. This year, we are requesting $1,200 from the City of Richmond, which would provide services for 2 children for the year 2018-2019. Does anybody have any questions
Any
about
questions,
Care House
council?
or what we do? No?
No?
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
No, she answered the statistics.
Good evening, everyone. My name is De'Ara Johnson. I am representing Turning Point, where I'm a residential advocate in our shelter, and I work on the crisis line. We are requesting $1,000 in community block grant money from Richmond to assist in the provision of shelter services for abused and homeless adults and children from Richmond. In 2017, we provided services to 12 residents from Richmond. CDBG funds will be used directly and only to provide support services for residents of Richmond and who are homeless to domestic violence. For over 30 years, our shelter has offered an array of services designed to support survivors of violence and to assist them in securing the resources needed to make a fresh start. The services include advocacy, 24-hour crisis intervention, support groups, medical support, skills building, employment and housing search, as well as case management. We are particularly proud of the Shelter's Children's Program, which provides emotional support, education, safety planning, child care, and recreation for young people in shelter from birth to age 17. Our residents are provided 3 meals daily, personal needs items, including clothing from our secondhand store, 24-hour staff availability, children's programs, including a very successful summer camp, access to our counseling and therapy programs, court advocacy, and civil legal assistance. Per the federal guidelines for community development block grant and per the priorities of housing, homelessness, and community development projects, our program responds to the national objectives of benefiting low and moderate income persons and responding to others' community development needs that have a particular urgency, such as working to provide immediate safety, support, and advocacy to the victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. Instead of asking for funding support, I would rather be here to inform you that there is no longer violence within the homes of Richmond and Macomb County, but unfortunately, Turning Point's 24-hour crisis line and the fact that our shelter is the most full at this time demonstrates that daily family violence continues to contribute to homelessness and that our services are greatly needed. Turning Point's commitment to ending domestic violence and sexual assault cannot happen without the support of our community. Please help us maintain this crucial service by supporting the continuation of grant funding support. Thank you for this opportunity and for your consideration in providing part of the solution for a community response to domestic violence. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Council, any questions?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for the use of the fiscal year 2018 to fiscal year 2019 CDBG funds at 7:13.
7:13.
Support.
Most been made and supported. Is there any discussion? Being not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. We move on to items for consideration, which we have 5 this evening. The first one, consideration of the allocation of community development block grant funds. Mr. City Manager.
Council is now scheduled to allocate the CDBG funds. As we mentioned, we have $17,644 total. $13,458 of those dollars are for community projects, or what we kind of commonly refer to as bricks and mortar, which leaves an amount of $4,186 for community or public service projects. The administration's recommending for the bricks and mortar, again, upgrades to the ADA ramps. And then we had also put in a motion, one for the public service projects of $4,186 for the senior coordinator here in Richmond. Any funds given to any of the other organizations simply just need to subtract that amount from the total of the $4,186.
Thank you. Okay, City Council, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to allocate $3,186 of the fiscal year 17-18 CDBG funding to the City of Richmond Parks and Recreation Department for the funding of the Senior Service Coordinator position for 1 year.
Support.
What's been made and supported? Any discussion on this? Any audience comments? Back to the table. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. We have another motion for the reconstruction of Oak Street and Byers Street ADA ramps. Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to allocate $13,458 of the fiscal year 17-18 CDBG funding towards the reconstruction of one quadrant of the intersection of Oak Street and Byers Street for the ADA ramp repairs in the amount of $13,597. Wait, dollars. Why is that not right?
Oh, that's a typo.
Because
It's a
the additional cost will come out of our general.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so $13,597. Thank you for clarification.
Support.
Any discussion on the motion? Any audience comments? Back to the table. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. Does council wish to pursue another motion?
Yes, I would like to pursue another motion, Mr. Mayor. I would like to make a motion to allocate $500 of the fiscal year 17-18 CDBG done to each of the following public service programs. So $500 for each, and that would be for the Care House program and the Turning Point. So that would be a total of $1,000 total, $500 to each program.
Support.
Motion been made and supported. Any discussion?
I would just like to say one thing about this. Always, this has been our primary funding for our senior service coordinator, and the CDBG funding has come down and down, down. It used to be so much more, and we used to be able to fully fund our senior service coordinator. The more, though, this comes down, I see the more we as a city are going to have to look for other resources to fund our senior service coordinator as it is, because it's a position we care a lot about. However, though, since this money does, we need to allocate it other ways. I appreciate especially the two services that came here today to share with us, Care House and Turning Point, and that it is utilized by the City of Richmond. And I'm sorry we can't give you more. I wish we could, but we're giving you what we can. and I know it is appreciated. So thank you for taking the time to come up here tonight, and we do appreciate what you do. So.
Other comments?
Very well.
I think we'll echo the same thing. We realize what the two organizations do, especially after last year. We had a conversation after we allocated what money we had at $457 to one of you. I'm not even sure which one it was. And we had a conversation with our police department and found out, yes, in fact, there are uses by our own citizens. And I'll echo what Jamie has said, and of course, we've had this conversation amongst the council, what we want to do this year. There's just not enough money anymore. Used to be like 32,000, and we got what was it, John, total?
17.
How much?
17.
Yeah, 17. And I've told you before, or I've told your organizations before, go back to the county and find out what happened to our money. But, as Jamie said, you're outstanding organizations. We are constantly seeing that both of your organizations are constantly sending us stuff for fundraising and whatnot. You're out there beating the bushes, and sadly, that's what has to be done. So we appreciate the work that the people in both your organizations do. And not to take away from the other organizations, but you guys are here tonight too. You know, we didn't know that until we just walked into the room. But we appreciate what you do for our citizens as well. Any other comments? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. Again, thank you. We move on to item number 2, consideration of approving resolution 2018-1, participation in the redevelopment ready communities program. Oh, you got a lot of tongue tires tonight. I got up at 3 this morning fighting snow. So anyhow, Mr. City Manager.
Council is scheduled to approve Resolution 2018-1, which will express the City of Richmond's desire to participate in the Redevelopment Ready Communities Program through the state. This is a program through MEDC that's available to all communities, and although the program is voluntary, the state is beginning to require communities be at the engagement level in order to qualify for certain grants and programs through the MEDC. One of the programs they have is kind of a development-ready property listing, so we'd like to at least get into the level that we are considered engaged with the MEDC so that we can list and select some properties here in the city to put on that website. The city planner has done the necessary training that's required by the state to be at this level. The planner and I have both walked ourselves through the self-evaluation process, and then by adopting this resolution, we can formally submit everything to the MEDC, and they'll issue a memorandum of understanding, kind of officially placing us into that step 1 engagement level that we're looking for. And again, it's a statewide program that is geared towards getting all communities to kind of do an honest look at themselves and how they handle people coming in for development projects within a city, and kind of getting some standardized things throughout the state. So it's a good program, and it's kind of a good program for each community to go through, because it does make us look at, okay, if Troy doesn't happen to be here and somebody comes in for a sign permit or a site plan permit, are there others on staff that can walk them through that if Troy's not here, or if I'm not here, or Becky's not here? So it's a worthwhile program to pursue.
Okay. Troy, was there anything you would like to add? Okay. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2018-1, which expresses the City of Richmond's desire to participate in the Ready Development Ready Communities Program.
Support.
Motion been made and supported. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I sit on the Economic Development Commission, and so I support this. I would like to see this brought to the EDC so they can take an active role in this program, because it hasn't been seen by them.
Okay.
I haven't seen it.
John, we can take that back to get a copy to everybody on the EDC. Okay, any other discussion? Sounds another step in the right direction for us. As we are growing, it's becoming more and more evident that we need to do more and more things like this. So, anything from the audience? Any comments? Back to the table? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. Item number 3 is consideration of special event request, Michigan Junk Teaks. Mr. City Manager?
Council is scheduled to review 2 special event requests from Michigan Junk Teaks to hold the following events: the Junk in the Trunk Vintage Market on Saturday, April 28th, and the Richmond Rummage and Relic Sale on Saturday, July 28th. Last week, I met with Kathy Oswald to go over the 2 special event requests that have been submitted. Kind of 2 major changes. One, both events, both the April and July, will be one-day only events on Saturday this year. And then the layout of both markets will be changed, kind of going back more to the layout from the original year of the Richmond Rummage and Relic Sale, which we closed down 1 block of Monroe from Main to Parker, and then give them kind of the northern third of the municipal parking lot. And so with that, we think we'll have a little better flow, and people kind of liked having the street closed and walking along in the street, looking at the vendors. And then, based on our experience last year and the traffic and kind of how congested it can get very quickly around the municipal parking lot, we are still recommending that council remove parking from one side of Parker Street for that block nearest the municipal parking lot, and then Monroe Street heading towards the west there for a portion. So with that, I believe Kathy's here. If you have any questions of her and if she wants to speak to the events this year.
I'd like to thank City Council, first of all, for considering my events, and also I'd like to thank the support from my fellow business owners here. I'm here if you have any questions, any suggestions.
Doesn't sound like it, Kathy. It went really well. We were really happy with what happened last year in our community by the people
Yes.
you drew in.
Yes.
You know, it creates that excitement, you know, that we're trying to do on a regular basis in our community. And so I can't imagine anybody's got any issues here. We
Okay.
solved the parking issue.
Right.
And the, you know, making it so it's easier to turn on to Parker for any of those people. And the parking lot issue has been taken care of. You're gonna use the, like John said, the northern third of the, and
Right.
leaves the other part open
Right.
for,
For the banquet hall, they do have several events going on both those weekends, both those evenings. So I thought that might be easier for them, so they can access their building on that side. One item I did not discuss with John that I kind of thought about was the crosswalk crossing Main Street, right there at the corner there. If maybe possible, if we could have some sort of, I don't know if we want to have like signage that says pedestrian crossing, even though I know we have the bump outs, but there really is no indication for people that that's actually a pedestrian crossing, for people to actually stop, or someone crossing. I don't know, it's just a thought, because I know there was a lot, especially in April. We had, you know, a lot of people crossing the street. And I personally would like to see them crossing more in that area where it's meant to be. I know people are always going to cross wherever they can, but just if there's that one solid area where people know that that's crossing and it's safe. Just something I forgot to mention to John when we met the other day, so.
I'm sure the administration can address that.
Yeah.
Maybe MDOT, once they fix Main Street from one end to the other, they could put the crossing back on Main Street.
Striping
Sure.
back in?
Yeah, the striping. Okay,
Okay, so,
Good.
we're good?
we're, so far, we haven't had a motion yet, but we're gonna talk about it.
I just have a question. I know it was a great,
Kathy.
well, probably both, Kathy and administration. Since this was such a successful event, we had a lot of people. Obviously, there is a need for, and I don't think we had it last year, the portable restrooms. And I see on the application, it's under the square that's under the city responsibility. And then also Kathy, again, points it out in her letter to city council. Is that something that the city would take care of? Or
I
would we-
believe last year on the 2 events,
last year,
the
okay.
city took care of it once and Kathy took care of it once.
Okay, I just want to make sure that.
Yep, yeah, we had
it's there.
bathrooms, I believe, at both events
both.
last year. One, she I think the April event, she had approached Tifa about funding that, and then the July event, she took care of her, vice versa. I can't remember which, but
I just want to make sure it happens.
there will be bathrooms one way or another.
Any other questions for Kathy? Thank you.
All right, thank
Is-
you.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve Michigan Junkee's special event request to close Monroe Street from Main to Park and the northern third of the municipal parking lot for the Junk in the Trunk and Vintage Market event, Saturday, April 28th, from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Support.
Motion been made and supported. Any discussion? Any other audience comments? Back to the table. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. We have another motion for the July event.
I'll make a motion to approve Michigan Junkie special event request to close Monroe Street from Main to Park in the northern third of the municipal parking lot for the Richmond Rummick and Relic event Saturday, July 28th, 6 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Support.
Motion been made and supported. Any discussion on this one? Any audience comments? Back to the table. We have other events that same day. Annually, we have in the park for the kids, whatever.
The community garage sale.
Community
It
garage
used to be a
sales.
kids-only garage sale, but now it's
Right,
a community
right,
garage
it's
sale.
community. I
And
do-
we
I
also
didn't wanna
have
say kids
the
only.
Ride Richmond through McRest and, or I'm sorry.
McLaren.
Thank you, McLaren, and A Beautiful Me.
Beautiful
And
Me.
last year, we worked together, and I know this year we're doing the same.
Christine
And we have
And the card.
and Gart, okay.
Yep.
What I'm wondering, now that we have our new polls up, could we be looking at the possibility of coming up with a banner across Main Street that hopefully these events become annual? And those banners can be made in such a way, I believe, that you could always take off certain lettering also if for some reason somebody dropped out. Or we just redo it, whatever it's gonna take, but could we get a banner made that would have these events on there promoting? Kind of goes back to the old days when we had good polls. We used to always have the sidewalk sale banners up. You know, the good old days banners, and you know, we did utilize it for the Christmas decorations since we got one this year. But I would like to see the city, maybe through its TIFA, which is promoting the downtown, have a banner made so that it's up 2 weeks before the event, so that those 15,000 cars a day can see it, and that can only help us, I would think.
Okay.
I think we're looking at less than $1,000. Good Old Days got a brand new one, and I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of $800 or $900. Get a lot of advertising out of that.
That's what they're there for.
Yeah. So maybe we can bring it up during budget time.
Sure.
Okay. Any other discussion? Did I go to the audience already on this? I'm not sure. Gotta state your name and address.
Hey, my name's Bridget Smith. It's 36642 Amanda Court. That's Richmond. Just speaking with all this events coming to Richmond and the downtown, and we're trying to promote, more businesses and things like that. What I've noticed since being a business owner is, and I don't even know if this is related to what we're talking about, but the speed limit is just, at that point, we might want to reconsider the speed limit of downtown, just because I've just been noticing cars just flying down the street, and it's becoming more of a safety issue now because we're noticing a lot of children crossing. So as we get busier, we just might need to reconsider the speed limits just for safety purposes when people are crossing. I myself was crossing the street. I almost got hit by a car 3 weeks ago just because they're flying down there. So just in consideration with all these events coming, it's something to discuss.
It's a big situation because MDOT governs the speed on Michigan Highway.
Okay.
So it would almost take an act of God to slow
So
cars
even
down.
like a little section with downtown.
I mean, we've tried.
You've tried,
One
okay.
of the issues is enforcement on Main Street and the fact that drivers have become so aggressive.
It's,
And we tried to address
it's
that
crazy.
with the bump outs.
Yeah.
And, you know, we have discussed if we're gonna go with any more bump outs. Basically, those are supposed to calm the traffic. Well, we've all seen it. They're still 35, 40 miles an hour down the middle of Main
Or
Street.
more.
Yeah, or more, yeah.
It's crazy, yeah.
And it's an issue, and our police department has been handing out, as we have
Okay.
just seen some statistics from the city manager, we are ticketing people for doing the type of stupid things down our Main Street, like running red lights and speeding. Our
yeah.
ticket volume has gone up considerably the last 2 months. So
Okay.
we are addressing it. Whether or not we could ever get it, MDOT to change the speed limit on Main Street,
To look into that with
Sure,
them.
just
I'll
as
look into it
we're
again.
becoming more busy down there, and it's
Yeah.
just, you know, kids are walking down, and it's just,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. No,
something
we-
to consider.
We hear you, Bridget. We'll take
All
another
right.
look and see if MDOT's changed their mind.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question with that. With that bump out in that crosswalk, is there a way we can make that if somebody is present, the vehicle needs to stop, or is that an MDOT thing as well?
Yeah, that's an MDOT thing as well.
Okay.
There's additional signage that we can put out when we first installed them. And obviously with what they did last summer, the special emphasis crosswalks and stuff aren't quite what they were. But there's also additional, signage that we can do. We didn't want to put everything out there if we didn't want to put too much. We could always add things later. It's more difficult to take them away. So we can take a look at that again with the Streetscape Committee.
Would a yield to pedestrian sign, we could not do that then?
No.
Okay.
Not without the approval of MDOT, which
Okay.
I think on M19, they're,
It was years,
I can guess what the answer is going to be
years
when we
ago when
ask.
we looked into this, MDOT said we are trying to get from point A to point B as fast as possible. We are talking about removing parking on Main Street so that we can facilitate that. And they wanted to get from I-94 to 69. And that's when the whole conversation about having a bypass around Richmond, people talked about and people dreaded. That was all part of that the last time that we really took a hard look and tried to put a little pressure on MDOT to give us a hand on Main Street, and it didn't go the right direction. So that's why I say, and why I say to Bridget that it's pretty hard. But there's a lot of new people, as we have found out recently, who help take care of the Cobra lights finally
Right.
after all these years that we've requested. So John's got some new connections and see what we can do.
I have one more question with that. So if there is a pedestrian crossing there, would a driver be ticketed if they did yield to the pedestrian by stopping traffic?
No, and what you see happen out there, like, I know, and talking with Kathy, when we first installed them, cars were slowing down and stopping to let the people go through, especially, I noticed that weekend, a lot of them were doing it, so no,
Okay.
they're not
So
getting
it would be
ticketed to do it,
appropriate for a driver
but I don't
to-
believe MDOT's going to allow you to put signage up to that
Okay.
effect.
Okay. Do you understand the question I asked?
I think what you're saying is if somebody walked out and got hit by a car, the car should have stopped.
No, I'm
What
not
she's
asking,
saying is-
I'm asking if I see people, would it be appropriate for me to stop for them and I'm not hindering
appropriate
traffic?
in the car to
Yes,
stop for them.
in the car to stop for them.
I don't know. You're not turning,
Right, that's
so
right.
you could be impeding traffic.
That's what I'm
Ask a
concerned about.
sheriff what he would do if he was on the call. But you're impeding traffic, just like the
That's
pedestrian
what-
would be impeding
Right.
traffic. And I don't believe that would be legal. But again, that would be something that,
And again, I noticed we were pleasantly surprised when we installed them, that people were doing that
Yes.
and letting people cross.
yeah.
You know,
Then I
whether
think
it's
they
the
figured out they
legal.
didn't have to, so they just
Yeah.
fly by
I know
now.
some,
Yeah,
The newness wore off.
yeah,
Right,
yeah.
Common sense is what I say.
You can make it a little tighter out there, just add a few brick and they probably just run over it. It's a problem all over. There's no doubt about it. The drivers have become very, very aggressive and sadly created more issues out on our Main Street for us. So, but we are addressing it. We'll try this also. It won't hurt to try again, see what we can do. Okay. Anything else? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
aye.
Against? Motion passes. We have one more. I believe that was for the parking, to remove parking. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to remove parking from the west side of Parker Street between Monroe and Water Streets and remove parking on the south side of Monroe Street from Parker Street through 35364 Monroe Street on Saturday, April 28th and Saturday, July 28th from 7 a.m. through 5 p.m.
Support.
What's been made in support? Any discussion on this? This makes things a lot safer out there.
Yes, and parking we can control.
Any audience comments on this item?
Hello, Melissa Matrazak, 69268 North Main Street, Apartment 1, in the city of Richmond. Living over now on that area, that end of town, and looking towards opening a business at that end of town, one of the things that my husband and I have been talking about recently that we would love for the city to consider maybe some signage in that area to direct people to the parking that we have. We've got two beautiful lots. The one behind us gets used quite a bit because of the restaurants on our side. The other side, unfortunately, is way underused, unless there's an event going on or something. And I've noticed in a lot of the other smaller communities that are really trying to build up their business districts, that signage goes a long way. So I don't know who we need to take it to or how we can get that done, but I really think some parking signage on Main Street permanently would be a great idea for the city.
Our streetscape committee has discussed that.
It's part of the bid package.
It's part of the bid package that is going to be happening in the next few months. The bids will be going out, and we were in our workshop setting. That discussion was had tonight, and city manager feels that sometime summer, fall, we will have all the brand-new signage for our business district, including the finger pointing over to the parking areas.
Perfect.
So it's taken us a while, but we're getting there.
Thank you. The other thing is, and I don't know about the lot across the street because I'm not over there at night. Our lot at night behind us is very dark.
Yeah.
So some lighting may be another consideration, especially because I know our lot is used late at night with Chaps and with Ken's, and I know that hopefully the microbrewer will be back there soon, that some kind of, even if it was a low lighting, would be great back there, so.
Yeah, we've talked about that before, it's been brought up, it's just, how are we gonna do it? And the bigger issue is the whole parking alley behind all your buildings. We would like to address those issues also, the poles and everything else, so whether or not we're gonna be able to, as our finances in Tifa have been less than half of what we used to collect on the Tifa, it slowed us right down on the projects, and that was part of the, streetscape and that we wanted to see happen. But doesn't mean that it's not gonna happen, but, we have talked about it. It's been a while.
Yep.
But we talked about trying to get some light in there. And like you say, with the brewery coming in, it's gonna be used even more. Yeah. We need to get that parking lot back there fixed.
And it's a beautiful lot. A lot of people just don't realize it's there, and, and ours is a mess, so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa. Okay, anything else? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. Hopefully we got great weather those. Moving on, item number 4, consideration of special event request from Rags for the sleigh rides. Mr. City Manager.
City Council is scheduled to consider a special event request from the Richmond Area Historical and Genealogical Society for their annual sleigh ride on Sunday, February 11th from 1 to 4 p.m. This is the third year of the sleigh rides. Again, it'll go around the streets right there adjacent to Bailey Park. We will close Park Street between Stone and Beebe to through traffic to kind of create an area for the loading and unloading of the sleigh. I think last year, depending on kind of the traffic volumes and how many people are waiting in line for the sleigh, I think they added one street possibly to that. Again, once they're out onto the streets on Beebe and Stone in, Jefferson or Washington, traffic is still going. We're not shutting it down to traffic. The sleigh can coexist with the cars. So with that, members of RAGS are here if you have any questions.
Anybody like to present anything?
Well, I guess I could.
I'm sure you would, Mary Ellen.
Christine told me to. She's the president.
I know.
Well, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, and many of you have been to our sleigh rides. And
Mary Ellen, excuse me, but you have to state your name. And
oh,
your-
I do?
You do, even you do.
Okay. Mary Ellen Shepard Logan. I live in St. Clair, Michigan now. Do you need to know that too, Tim? No. Okay. I want to cover all the bases, though.
Yeah. What's fair to one is fair to all.
That's very true.
Mhm.
Anyway, so we have our sleigh rides, and a number of people come in to enjoy a sleigh ride around the block. We tried to do them across the street in the park, and that didn't work out so well due to the berms and that sort of thing. So we've decided just to do them around the block on the streets, and it's quite favorable. Many families come in and visit us year after year. We have families that come from as far away as Oxford and in Ann Arbor sometimes to go on a sleigh ride. We have the cabin open with a fire in it, and we do cookies and cocoa in the school. So they can go in the school and visit the one-room schoolhouse, learn a little bit about that while they're there, and enjoy some cocoa and cookies. The museum will be open with a docent to answer questions and look at the displays that are in there at the current time. And of course, they'll also be able to see the progress of the barn, which is coming along slowly but nicely. So that's our sleigh rides.
Very good. Council have any questions, Mary Ellen? Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the special event request for the Rag Sleigh Ride event on Sunday, February 11th, 2018, from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. and allow the closure of Park Street from Stone Street to Beebe Street during the event.
Support. Motion been made and supported by two different people. I'm not sure who.
Chime in too.
You picked there, Karen. Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Any other audience comments? Back to the table. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
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 Against? Motion passes. Hope you also have good weather that day. Probably like a little snow. If we were to get a heavy snow, would we be out cleaning that area? Is that gonna bother the sled if, no? Okay.
We're on the street, we're on wheels.
You're on wheels, yeah.
So we have to be able to navigate the street.
I'll remind DPW.
What I'm saying is if we get a heavy snow.
Yeah, I'll remind
the
DPW
wheels, we're probably
that
gonna have
for-
to make sure that the streets are clean. Yeah. The other question I have is, do we close BB?
No.
We don't.
We've only, in the past and for the first 2 years it's worked.
Yeah.
We close Park Street between BB and
Yes.
Stone, just so people can kind of, and then then they go out onto BB Street, onto, what is that next one, Washington, sorry.
Washington
And then
BB.
Park, or Stone. So in the past, they've been out just very similar to some of the other carriage rides they used to do throughout town. We don't close the street, those BB, they just are out there with the
Okay.
traffic. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that hasn't posed problems?
No,
Okay.
not that I know of.
Okay.
Like John mentioned, if we don't have a lot of people waiting in line, Kevin just added on another street. I think he might have went down Main Street once too. But,
Yeah.
their horses are very calm and well-trained.
I'm not worried about the horses, I'm worried about BB Street and some of the people that travel down BB Street. I haven't been able to make it over there. I don't know what I have that same day, but the last year I did not make it over there. I've always been there before when we were in the field. And so I didn't realize that we're out in the street and we're not shutting the streets down. But if there hasn't been a problem, then there's not a concern then. Okay. Any other discussion, comments?
There
Council?
is no winter festival to go along with it this year, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then our chili cook-off, though, is the week before.
We're looking at that, to determine exactly when the chili cook-off will happen. Obviously, it used to be up at the Odd as part of larger events. With that now going on, we're looking at, do we bring it back over to the park? Do we do it, this weekend that the sleigh rides are? Do we do it the weekend before?
We talked on the subject at our last.
Okay.
We feel it's gonna be in the park. When we initially talked with the rec board, I was, kinda had my dates wrong, and I was thinking that the sleigh rides were Saturday. And so we were kinda thinking of having the chili cook-off the same day as the sleigh rides, but with that being Sunday, we're not sure we'll get the chilies if we do it Sunday. So we're examining exactly when the chili cook-off will be.
Okay.
If the barn would have been done at the Historical Society, we could have held it in there.
Right.
Next year, next year.
Go ahead, Barry Ellen.
When was the Winter Festival canceled?
The Chamber of Commerce decided to end that.
Earlier this year, it was in the email. That's why I sent you the email, was that the last 2 years, your event was rolled into their special event request.
I wondered
And-
when I read that, okay.
Yeah, so earlier this
Had braces
fall,
tonight.
they had made that decision. They're doing another event for the chamber. If you go to their website, I think you can find it on there, their Facebook page about alpaca races or something like that. And I think you can go to the chamber website for more information on that. But it's not the overall Winterfest.
Okay, moving on. Item number 5 is consideration of appointments to the Board of Zoning Appeals. Mr. City Manager?
The terms for Rob Garber and Mike Kaminsky expired December 31st, 2017. Both have resubmitted their applications to sit on the BZA, and Mike Kaminsky is the Planning Commission's rep on the BZA.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to reappoint Rob Garber to the Board of Zoning Appeals for a 3-year term with the expiration date of December 31st, 2020.
Support.
Motion been made and support. Any discussion? Appreciate Rob coming back. They just met for, was it the second time?
Second time this year. Yep.
Second time this year, and
Oh,
we
first, no,
think.
actually. first
Well,
time
yes,
this year.
I'm sorry,
It's
first time this
18.
year.
Yeah.
Second
That
time
should be last time.
within 12 months, which
Yeah.
is pretty frequent for them, although we believe we may even have another meeting next month. So
Yeah,
I believe-
but they were both were able to make it, and we appreciate that.
Yep.
Any other discussion? Any audience comments on this? Back to the table? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. We have one more spot open.
I'll make a reappointment of Mike Kaminsky to the Board of Zoning Appeals for a 3-year term with expiration date of December 31st, 2020.
Support.
Motion been made and supported. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I
go
would just show my congratulations to both Rob and Mike Kaminsky. Even though I'm a member on the Board of Zoning Appeals as well as a representative for City Council. And even though we don't meet very often, which is a good thing, means that people aren't trying to fight all our zoning ordinances. They've been there and they've made some good comments and have good minds about our ordinances and really do their research. So I want to thank them both for applying again.
Okay. John, I had a question on this, on Mike's application, and it turned a dim light on my head here, but he put on there to continue representing the Planning Commission. I believe the Planning Commission had to appoint.
We selected who the representative would be, yes, back then.
Was that Mike?
Yes.
So does that have to go back to Planning Commission to reappoint?
Probably should.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we want to table this until it goes to the Planning Commission, thinking about it that way. He is their rep.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess it's more back to how the enabling legislation is written.
It was a new
which
law,
states that a member of your BZA can also be planning, or they have to have a member of the planning on the BZA. Do you recall, Troy?
If I recall correctly, it's required to have one member.
So I guess
I think we took, and certainly it doesn't hurt to ask planning who their rep is. I think you could look at it either way, but I could be wrong. In that, since City Council appoints the Planning Commission, They can also appoint which of the planning commission members are going to serve the BZA. Now, certainly when we were going for the first year, we wanted somebody who was a willing victim to serve on both boards. And
Yes.
so we went and asked the planning commission, who's willing to do this off of this board? Under the law, one of you has to. It's, I guess you could look at it as that they weren't necessarily voting on which one they're going to do. That's your role as council of which of our planning commission members do we want on BZA. You could flip it around and certainly have a courtesy of, hey, planning commission, the planning commission's rep is up once again. Is Mike still our rep, or does somebody else want to do it?
I guess my question would be, does the act require the planning commission?
I don't believe the act requires. The act requires that council appoint a member of planning commission to the
All right.
BZA.
I would suggest then we can just continue to go ahead on what we've done then. But there was, I remember there was something, it was a new.
Yeah,
It was the first year, yes,
Yeah.
and so that's why we went to.
Had planning
yeah.
commission.
Yeah, the act doesn't get into intricacies. It just says a member of the planning commission shall serve on the Board
Okay.
of Zoning Appeals.
Okay.
And it leaves it at that. How you accomplish that is up to the community.
Okay. All right. So we have a motion. Any other discussion? Any audience comments? Back to the table? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. We appreciate both of their services to our community. Moving on, city manager's comments, sir.
We've discussed it before, but our new website, it's still the same web address, but we do have a revamped website that's up and running now. It went live last Thursday. It's still, a lot of the structure is the same, but it has some kind of new look and feel to it, a little more modern. And then also, we are continuing to transition in our accounting and financial software. We're working with BSNA to accomplish that. We anticipate going live April 11th or 12th. And once we do that, that's when it'll open up the online payments and the credit cards, both either online or at the counter. So we're looking forward to that.
Very good. Okay, moving on to council comments. Dennis?
Oh, I'm good tonight.
Jamie?
I'm good tonight, sir.
Emily?
Nothing, thank you.
Nothing tonight.
Rob?
All set.
Michael?
Just want to thank the members from Care House and for Turning Point for coming out today to give a presentation so that we could give them some money of our CBG funds. Appreciate them coming out. I wish we could give more, as is the case that was mentioned earlier, but thank you for coming.
Okay. We took down Christmas decorations. Appreciate everybody that showed up to help do that on a very cold day. And I haven't noticed, working a lot of hours at the county, have we changed the banners yet? Have they had an opportunity to do that? Oh, they've already done that, even with all the snow.
Yep.
Very good, very good. Okay, we appreciate that also. Okay, today being the 15th, we have an EDC meeting at 7 o'clock right here at City Hall on the 18th. The Regs Annual Membership Dinner is on the 19th. Tickets still available?
It's on the 26th.
Aha. Okay, so that is corrected. The Regs Annual Membership Dinner will be on the 26th. And our tickets still available?
Yes.
Yes, and they can get those tickets by calling?
Just calling me.
By calling Christine, okay. And let's see, what else do we have? We have TIFA meeting will be on the 24th at 7 o'clock right here at City Hall. That takes us into February. The next regular scheduled meeting of the City Council will be held on the 5th right here at City Hall at 7 o'clock. I know we talked earlier about, and on the new calendar the city puts out, it says the chili cook-off will be on Saturday the 3rd. As mentioned, that is still being talked about by the Park and Rec Commission. And also remember, the February 1st, the non-residential registration for pavilion will begin on February 1st. So if you want to rent our pavilion and you want to get your date set, you can start doing that on February 1st. That's for non-residents. Is there anything else that we need to put on the calendar? Being not, there is no closed session. Is there any other business of the city council this evening? Being not, motion to adjourn be in order.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Motion been made and supported. There's no discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion passes.